Welcome to another episode of Cyrus's podcast. Today we have a very special guest, founder of the #1 CRM in the real estate industry, FollowUpBoss, Dan Corkill. Thank you for being here today, man.
Thanks, Cyrus, man. Always happy to chat, and cool to do it on your podcast as well.
Yeah, stoked about this. So we talk all the time, but I want to take this opportunity to be able to share really like your background and how you've created success and how you've really created probably one of the best work environments, because I've seen how you've done that, right? And also one of the best CRMs in the industry. Your culture and your work environment is amazing. Everybody that I know that works for your company is amazing and loves you and loves what you do. And then you have literally the best tech on the market. So starting from before FUB, like what did you do before FollowUpBoss? And what did you do before FollowUpBoss?
Yeah, I had a bunch of jobs, growing up. Like I started FollowUpBoss when I was 25. This is back in like 2011. So, getting a bit older now, a few more gray hairs. But I'd done a bunch of things. I did my degree in university in finance, business finance, I would say I used practically none of that to build FollowUpBoss. You know what I mean? It's not even particularly helpful now when we're looking at different financing options. I mean, I think some of it's helpful, but I definitely would recommend joining a company or a startup or a real estate team, to get business experience than go to school for it, especially nowadays. So I'd done other lots of random jobs. I was a checkout chick at the supermarket, I was a lifeguard at the pool, pest control, I'd done a lot of things. But when I started, when I finished university, I guess I went into a bit more of a professional career. I moved to Sydney, Australia. That's, it's really where all the, jobs are in Australia, and especially, in finance. And so I just worked at this small lender, sort of a little bit of a lender of last resort, really, for businesses. If you couldn't get a loan from one of the big banks, you might come to us and, we'd try and get you approved. And I would be there sort of first of all, I just started in data entry, so it's and I would be competitive, who can enter the most data, right? How can you be good at that? And then because I don't know, I see some people that have jobs which, maybe that's obviously on the lower tier of jobs you can get started with, right? And then they don't put any effort in, and they're just sort of oh, it's a job. And then no one notices them, and no one gives them a shot at the next thing. But I did that for whatever, a couple of months. And then they're oh yeah, you're good. We need to move you to something more productive, right? And, that happened a few times at that company. Eventually though, I worked out, I was looking around, everyone at this finance company was great people. I learned a lot from them, and, they're great people to hang out with in general. But, everyone I think hated where they'd ended up in life, especially the older guys, that were still doing this job in their 40s, 50s. And again, not that they hated their life, but they hated that aspect, that career aspect. You are literally in a cubicle, doing this sort of finance stuff all day. And it's just okay, I don't want to be doing this. I just started looking around. What are different options? What else could I be doing? And I really just thought started to learn a bit more about entrepreneurship. And I just saw that people were selling websites for I don't know, $5,000, for a website. And my salary at the time was probably $3,000 a month or something like that, And so I'm wow, if I could just sell one website a month, I could basically beat my salary. And then, what if I sold 2 a month, right? And so that was my plan. Eventually I quit that job and started a little web design agency. And, I probably it didn't really go that far. I built a few websites, but I think I was missing a lot of fundamental business skills. So I could get all the technical stuff done, and had fun doing design and stuff, but, just sales and understanding how to sell, based on value versus just based on I just want to sell you a website for a few $1,000s. I didn't understand that really. And I didn't understand marketing. And so Yeah, basically, I then started thinking like, well, why don't I get a job where I can learn these things? You know, and I think this is a hack or what a lot of people should do. Or in real estate, like sometimes it might just be joining a team that's successful, right? And it's because you can keep trying to figure everything out by yourself, or you can go and learn from people that, you know, they know what they're doing. And, you know, you want to accelerate your learning as much as possible. So yeah, I ended up getting a job it was sort of like online marketing. So I was sort of doing some similar stuff, you know, in terms of websites and stuff.
Yeah.
But I really got to learn a lot about like, okay, how does this work at an actual business? You know, like what are the kind of things we track? And like, oh, they do email marketing. And then based on that email marketing, they track like number of registrations they get. And then, you know, at the events, this company was doing events. So like at the events, this is how their sales funnel works. And this is, you know, how that works. And yeah, it's just really got to learn a lot in that environment. And then, you know, once and again, I was still not getting paid very much, you know, but like, I was still like, I would say I was applying myself, you know, 110%. So again, I just want to sort of like, it's definitely a theme is like, just, you know, like as some people go, oh, I'm not getting paid that much. I'm not going to work that hard. I'm going to clock out every day, like early or whatever, or exactly on time, you know, but it's sort of like, no, like I want to learn as much as possible. I want to be as impactful as possible. And I ended up leaving that job because I was, you know, again, I was sort of like 24, 25. And I was like, you know, I just want to travel. You know, I want to see what else is out there. I saved out a little bit of money. And so my plan was just to like, you know, sort of sell everything I had, get a backpack and go to Europe. You know, it's like a lot of Australians like to travel. And, you know, I sort of got the travel bug. I was sort of reading some blogs online of people doing this. And I'm like, this is insane. Like there's no downside. Basically, like if you end up broke, you can just come back home and get another job, right? Like there's literally, you know, again, like this is when you're young, you don't have kids, you don't have all those obligations, you don't have a mortgage. I think that's also another thing is like, you know, not to say you can't do these things later in life, you certainly can, but it's like, again, you don't have those obligations. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't have a car. So it's like, I can easily, you know, move somewhere else. And then obviously with work and the way things have gone, you can work remotely. So, you know, I knew that as well. But anyway, fast forward a little bit, like, so when I quit that job, Tom, who's the co-founder of FollowUpBoss, is like, damn, we should start a software company. And I'm like, this is great because I'm unemployed, you know, and like, I don't have any plans really. And I kind of did sort of think like I want to do something in software, you know, like, and I bought this like really thick, like PHP coding book, you know, and I'm just, once Tom said that, I already knew he was a great developer. So I'm like, I'm not going to be needing this thing anymore. But, you know, so that was the idea. Our original idea was like, let's start a CRM for small business that's sort of like, kind of like there wasn't many options back then, not just for real estate, but small business in general. And we wanted to create something like easy, but also, you know, powerful to use. Like, so it just was beyond like the basics of some CRMs, which was just like, oh, you could look up a contact record. Like, okay, that's great. But
yeah,
what about when you want to do lead distribution, automation, etc.? So then, you know, we probably went about 6 months. And we didn't really know what we were doing because like we never started a software company before, right? And so again, we're sort of diving in, we're trying things, you know, we're talking to people, and we sort of realized a bit we had to niche down. And we knew that because like without focusing on any specific niche, it was like, well, like why would anyone buy our software? Like who would we even target? Like small business is just too broader market.
Yeah.
Especially to start. And so like we ended up doing this course. It was called, I think, like the Real Estate Roundtable or something. It was by this guy, Dane Maxwell. And literally his offer was, we will teach you how to start a software business and get your first 10 customers. And I'm just like, that's great. That's exactly what I need, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, that's what we did. And he sort of had another business in the real estate space, Paperless Pipeline. It's actually still around. They do like transaction management. And so through that, we ended up talking to a lot of real estate people. And I would say, honestly, I learned so many skills in that course, like around sales, around how to build a product that people actually want to pay for. And yeah, I would say and marketing as well, like those three things. And that was sort of like, for me, it was like, okay, those are some of the things I was missing, like sales, marketing, and just how to really dial in a product, not just like based what I think people want, but like what they actually want.
Yeah.
And, again, like the value of that course, is probably like the value of FollowUpBoss, it's like, and so again, sort of like, I guess trying to continue on this theme of like, you can work it all out by yourself, maybe, but that's probably going to take you a super long time. And I think if you can ever like just join a team or, join a business or even just pay for knowledge, even just be through a book or whatever, like you're so much better off doing that and like learning from someone that's done exactly what you want to do. And I think that was the other powerful thing about Dane teaching it, is he'd done that. Like he'd started a software business that wasn't like, one of these VC backed things. Like he'd bootstrapped it and self-funded it. And so that was exactly what we wanted to do. And sort of, again, like he just filled in a lot of the missing skills, I think that, that I had.
Yeah, that's cool. There's a lot in there that I want to unpack and kind of get into. First, going all the way back, you had mentioned you went to school for finance, right? And then you had mentioned, hey, like is it always the best option? And I'm of the same belief, is like, like entrepreneurship. I had a mentor of mine that told me this when I was younger. He goes, Cyrus, when you go to business or you go to school for business, are you really a business person? Because you're spending a lot of money for this, this thought process. And it was the same thought process. He gave me a couple different courses. He's like, hey, go take this, go take this, go take this, rather than going and spending thousands and thousands of dollars on business school, right? And so it seems like you kind of, it sounded like you kind of have the same thought process as far as it goes for entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think you can just, like, I think one of the biggest hacks in life is like, how do you go more directly to what you want, right? Because even though like I ended up here, right, probably a place that I want, but I could have skipped that whole phase. Like I could have saved like 4 or 5 years, right? And it didn't really help me move towards it, which again is fine. Like, I was having a good time. I was, doing some casual jobs, having a lot of fun with my friends and whatnot. And so I think it's all fine. Like, I think I got some good life experience, but especially I think like I was lucky. Like I was, a bit influenced by my family. Like, my granddad was an accountant. My dad had like his accounting degree. And so they're like, you need to go to school and do accounting. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of pre-decided for you, and it wasn't, like they weren't that harsh, but it was like, you should do this, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, I'll do that. And so, but like, I mean, even just like other random stuff I did growing up, like selling something on eBay, it's like, I think there's a lot of things that you can just learn by doing those type of things, that you start to learn, okay, this is how you sell, this is how you interact with someone. Oh, like this guy's got questions about the product I'm selling him. Like, how do I respond to that? Like, I feel like a lot of these things, you definitely don't need like this super old school course, which, let's face it, like a lot of that stuff is out of date, compared to like how the internet moves now, like even more so than, when I did it. And I think the other big thing about, especially in the US, right, like you're probably going into a lot of debt to go to school. And like, I just think that's crazy. Cause like, when I said like, hey, I just sold everything and like went traveling, like there's no way I could have done that if I had like 50,000 in debt or 100,000. Like I wouldn't have felt as comfortable. You know what I mean? So again, I just feel like for some people it could be worth it. And like, but just make sure you've got like a real plan for what you're going to do there. Right. So.
Yeah. I like that you said, go the most direct route of where you want to actually go. Right. Like some people, they ask me about, let's say, for instance, getting into real estate, and they're like, oh, I'm going to take get a real estate degree at XYZ University. I'm like, you can pay $150 and get your real estate license if you want to be a real estate agent, right? Like if you want to go do something else in real estate, let's talk about it. But like, you want to be a real estate agent, go get go online, pay $150 or whatever it is, and get your license, right? And then you also mentioned when you were working in the data entry right, with the other company, you mentioned something that I think is super powerful, and I think is a huge key to success in every single high performing individual. And you said you put in the work no matter the position, right? Like that principle is, if somebody tells me this is how they think and this is how they operate and they're at an entry level position, I automatically know they're going to be either at eventually at a C-level position, or they're going to own their own company at some point. Because the reality is like exactly what you said. Like when you put in the work, people notice and people take notice. But also, like, I want to know, was that always how you were, or where did you learn to think that way?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I think some of it maybe came from just like how I was raised or values. It's interesting because like in school, I wasn't like a super hard worker or anything. Like I would often
Yeah.
just do like, the minimum to like pass the class or,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think maybe just once I got into like the real world or whatever, like actual jobs, I don't know. Like, yeah, as like, I guess it's like, I don't want to stay at the bottom, right? It's like, I'm
Yeah.
not content with that. And I think I always just had some hunger. And again, like I like to be competitive, if like, even like, I don't know, whatever, like me and you were doing something, like, yeah, I'd like to try and be competitive. I know you kick my ass in like most athletic things, right? But I'd still like to try. And so, yeah, it's a good question where it comes from. I think what's interesting is like, I think some level of it comes with like dissatisfaction in life, because like if
Yeah.
you're totally satisfied, you're totally happy, and like, everything's perfect. And you're also just like cool. Like if the rest of my life is like that, like this, I'm cool. Whereas
Yeah.
again, it's sort of like, the rest of my life was a data entry job. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I couldn't handle that. And so I think there's some dissatisfaction there. And then just realizing like, and, I think one thing I learned later is like, you're building a muscle, just like working out, you're building like this hard work muscle. And sort of, it's like, if you could build that working for other people, then you can deploy it whenever you want. Right. And like,
Yeah.
to like, if we even go forward a little bit to when we're starting FollowUpBoss, like there were so many like years of just grinding, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, cool. Like I already know how to grind on a computer. I did that. Like, and so but now I'm doing it for something that's for me. And sort of, it's like even easier. So yeah, I don't know 100% where it all comes from. I mean, my dad did own his own business, kind of like a smaller, like just a few employees type thing. And I think,
Yeah.
I think some of like that, like he would just tell me shit at a young age, like you want to have your own business, and you don't want to have to work for someone else. And so I think some of those things, they just seep in when you're a
Yeah.
kid. You're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why would I want to work for someone else?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's where
That's
some of it
cool.
came from. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't
And
know. Like, what do you think? Because like you're also wired a bit different to the average person, right? And like some people,
yeah,
they're more cruisy. Yeah.
yeah, I say the same thing. It comes from like that dissatisfaction, but it's like also like this thought process that like I want to continuously like level up, right? And it's really
Yeah.
interesting as I've gone through my life and as I became more successful in what I do, I realized that I had, let's say, XYZ goal. Well, then eventually I get to that goal and then it's like, oh well, like now where do I want to go? And then you have to start chasing what really is inside you, which is, that's that really cool thing that you were talking about as far as with FollowUpBoss. Like it gets easier when it's for you and it's for something that you built and you grew, but you built those muscles, you built that exercise throughout all of these grind mode situations, it's an interesting thing. And I also think that when you mentioned it, you had mentioned earlier, like you saw these other people that are like, you know, older, that are doing the same exact job. And it's like, do you want to live that lifestyle? And do you want to live that life? And for me, like, that's the same as me. Like, I don't want to live that, I see people what they're doing and I'm like, I don't want that. I hate
Right.
school, love learning. I was the same way. I hated school. Like I didn't show up to school. I didn't want to be at school. I went to school because I had to go to school. I passed barely so that I could get through school, right? And I found the easiest route around it. But I absolutely love learning, and I try to level myself up because I realize that that's the difference between. I make money on consulting every day, and that's really just me because I learn how to operate in this fashion, right? Like I learned how to do so many different things because I love learning, because I don't want that quote unquote 9 to 5 life. We always joke about it where it's like, yeah, we didn't want to work 9 to 5, but now we work 24/7. It's like,
yeah. My friend goes, we traded in the 9 to 5 for the 9 to 9, but
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly. But at the end of the day, like it is, I think for me, it stems from a couple different things, my childhood growing up, but also like it very much is that dissatisfaction, that fact that I don't want to live the same life that, the people around me are living. I want to level it up. And then I want to level up the people around me as well. So I feel like there's a bigger purpose. You had mentioned a really good hack as far as succeeding in something that you're doing, and I think that it's super, super underrated, because a lot of times people are like, oh, just go build your own business, build your business, grow,
right.
grow. But you mentioned like get a job in the industry and learn how they did it. Like that is such an underrated hack. Because if you you want to start, for instance, a social media company, right? You want to start a social media company, but you don't know how social media companies ran. Like you're either going to go on YouTube and try to learn it all, or you're going to learn it from people that are actually doing it at a very high level. And I thought that was really interesting that you had mentioned that, because is that something that like made you get to where you're at? And did you think about that when you were getting into these different jobs, or was it something that you realized later on?
I was definitely aware of it with my last job I had. Like it was just like, because again, like that's when I'd sort of been through this process of trying to start my own like little web design business. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to learn more business stuff. And I think, yeah, it was very intentional. Like, so, I was making like, I can't remember exactly, but like for like $40,000 Australian, maybe a little bit less, which in US is like, I don't know, $30,000 is like, it's not much money. And this is living in one of the most expensive cities in the world, Sydney, Australia. And so another thing I noticed was like, I had my friends from some of those companies, and they'll be making like $100K a year. They're like salespeople, right? So there's another clue, right? Like being a salesperson, you make a lot of money. But I think for some of them though, it was more of a trap, right? Because I could see they're never going to give up that $100K, and sort of like maybe they get a bit better and they earn $120K or $50K or whatever. But it's like they were never going to go back to zero. And I think that's what I see from people that, again, like they sort of they want to make more progress. And I think sometimes to make a lot of progress, you've got to go back to zero. Like you've got to sort of completely kill whatever you're doing. Like it could be like a relationship you're in. It could be the job you're in. It's like, you can't be in a full-time job and then like start a new full-time job. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like, you can't be in a relationship and start a new relationship. Like it's sort of, you need to make space in your life for this next level that we're talking about. That sort of, I think, drives a lot of people. And like we're saying, like we're happiest when we make progress. Like I think Tony Robbins talks about that all the time. Like that's what's going to keep you happy, not like reaching some level and then just like, maintaining or whatever. So I don't know. Like, yeah, it was definitely intentional at the end. I mean, I think even Warren Buffett says the same thing. He's like, yeah, just go work for someone for free. Like, imagine if you could go work for him or for free or whatever. But again, like, I think this is just like, I used to see more because I was sort of like in that web design / freelancing world. And you'd see a lot of freelancers that like, well, I don't want to work for free. I don't want to do this project for free. And it's like, I get that sentiment, but also like you've got to just have more of a plan. Because like, what if I built your website for free, but then that's in my portfolio and now you're a reference, right? So again, it's like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be working for free forever. But I think to build some of those core skills, like, yeah, and that's the thing, if you've got the job and someone's paying you, Like they're literally paying you to learn. I'm like, this is,
Yeah.
this is a great deal, even though it's not a lot of money, right? It's sort of just enough to live on. So I don't know. I think that's, that's a good way to go about it. But it depends what stage people are at in their lives. So if you're young people, I would do all of that all over again. Like there's not much I wouldn't have repeated. Maybe I wouldn't go to like university or whatever, but I think I had to go through a lot of those experiences, like the crappy finance cubicle job, to like realize like, oh yeah, I hate this. Like it doesn't even matter about money. If I was doing this every day, it's like it would just be like suicidal almost.
Yeah. I feel that. And you learn by doing all of that, you appreciate where you're at more. And I truly like I talk about this all the time, is like everything happens. I believe everything happens for a reason. And when, for instance, like the biggest one that I always say, and it's I think that people learn from extremes and people understand from extremes, but it's, my dad passed away. My dad passed away when I was young, and like everyone always is like, what's the best and the worst thing that ever happened to you? And I always tell them like, my dad passing away was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me. And they're like, oh, was your dad like a bad person? I'm like, no, my dad was an amazing human being. He took care of our family. He did everything right. He was a great dad. But without that happening, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have done what I've done. Right. And so there's
Right.
this thought process where like, hey, could we, if we could go back in time, would we change anything? Like, I don't think I would, and I don't think you would either, because it made us think the way we think. But could we help somebody make a decision earlier on to be able to help them level up a little quicker? And that's kind of my thought process. And I think that's your thought process too, as we talk and as we converse, so often, which is, I think, why you and I get along so well. But with that being said, like, you built this CRM for small businesses. You figure out you have to niche down. You get into real estate, and then you're building a CRM in real estate, and now number one CRM in the industry. Like, how do you go from 0 to 60 like that? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. I think it's been like 12 years now. And I think, I always think of that. Like, I think it was Bill Gates or someone is like, people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years, And so like, I think once we started really getting a little bit of traction with FollowUpBoss, like we saw like, hey, this is a problem people have. They need to manage these online leads. People are starting to buy more online leads, and they're starting these real estate teams. Like, these are sort of these two pretty big trends. And a lot of the software in the industry at the time was not that great. And sort of, it just felt like we were onto something, and it's sort of, it's pretty slow at the start, right? Like, you're just getting a few customers and they refer a few more customers to you. But again, like, it's a lot of fun just in those early days, because you're learning all these new things. Like, I was even learning about real estate. Like, some people are like, do you used to be a real estate agent in the US? I'm like, no, like, I didn't know anything about it. Like, but you learn from people, right? Like, you learn from just talking to people. You're always, so again, there's a lot of great things that came there. I think the biggest thing is persistence. And like, I'm sure you've had other people like on, and, I'm sure this. It's like, it's like, you can't just do the right things for a month or even like a year, It's like, you need to constantly do the right things just all the time, or as much as possible, It's like, so, I mean, I think I mentioned before, like, the first few years were definitely just a grind, because like, I didn't know anything really about like hiring the right people or managing the right people or like keeping them motivated and stuff. And so like, like, there was times even like quite a few years into it where I'll just like be sitting there grinding out like customer support by myself, because like, I didn't really know how to build like an awesome team. And we had some great people to help us, but they were sort of a little bit the same. Like, they were just like, their heads were underwater, and like, like, I didn't know what to do. So it was, just a lot of grinding, a lot of persistence. I think that helped build a lot of the culture in the business, though, because I think, we build a very hardworking culture from the start. We build a very like customer-centric culture, and I think people could see that. And I think people, most people have resonated with, like, most people at the company, and like, I think that's some of the great parts to see. And then, you know, there's some people where maybe we brought on, they're like, weren't quite the right fit or skill set or whatever, that, you know, over time it just wasn't the right thing. But, you know, what's interesting is like you get to a point in that culture just reinforcing, self-reinforcing. You know, it's not me
Yeah.
that every day now going like, guys, let's work hard and like let's look after our customers. Like now our team will come to me and go, hey, I didn't think we're looking after our customers enough here. You know, it's like, and so yeah, you know, I just think there was a lot of persistence, and we grew through a lot of word of mouth, which again I think came back to like having a good product and like also looking after people. So, you know, one practical example is like, if anyone's ever unhappy with FollowUpBoss, we just give them a refund, you know, and it's like, it doesn't sound like that big a thing, sounds pretty basic, but a lot of software companies will be like, well, you know, you sign this contract and like, you know, you're really going to pay for the next year or whatever. And, you know, again, just think a bit more medium or long term, like that's just going to piss that person off. Like, sure, you're going to have a little bit of extra money today. And yes, so I don't know. It was just always trying to just grind, get the right things done, trying to build a great product, look after customers. And I mean, one interesting thing that we did different to a lot of businesses, like a lot of businesses operate in quarters, especially once you get bigger, right? But like, honestly, like I had no mental model even of like, it's Q1, it's Q2, it's Q3. Like I was just like, it's go time basically. Like we need to get shit done like yesterday. Yeah. And, you know, I just thought now we start to do a bit more of that. I think is like, there is some value to having structure, and like I think some people need more structure. But again, it's sort of like if we go back to that thought of just get things done directly. Like so many companies are like, well, let's plan for do that in like Q4, and like, you know, we need to have a meeting and like we need to do all this stuff. It's like, okay, like can we just do it today, right? And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, and some of our clients. I think you've met Chris Lindell, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's a big real estate team. I mean, he always blows me away because he's always like, you know, got like something that like, again, like the answer would typically be like, yeah, well, we're going to have to develop that and we're going to have to do this and do that. And, you know, maybe in a few months, he's like, cool. Yeah. Can we do that by a Tuesday? You know, and it's like, I think he's like that with the companies he works with his own team. And again, it's sort of like, just cut out all the BS. Let's just go straight to the thing. And I think like that's an extreme example, right? Like I think most people probably don't need to go that far, and they shouldn't. But like, yeah, most people are way too much on the side of like, I'll just do it one day, you know? And it's like, yeah, even like I'm trying to get in shape now and eat a bit better and stuff. And it's like, man, like this ain't a someday thing. I have to start doing shit today. You know, it's like, because otherwise, yeah, you're just always putting things off. And yeah, so I don't know, man. Like just, yeah, I think going direct is a superpower. And then I think what's challenging, or what I've seen be challenging for people, is like, they don't really know how to go direct. You know what I mean? Because like if you haven't done something before, like you gave this example of become a real estate agent, right? It's like, well, yeah, you need to get your license, but then what do? You know, like, and so then people were probably even more stuck after that step. Like I've got this license, but like, you know, how do I ask people to be their real estate agent? And then again, it's like, you need to go as directly to that as possible. Like you can screw around in your business cards and your website and like, you know what I mean? Like you can keep yourself busy doing like random crap for like a year. But like at the end of the day, you've got to start talking to some people and like convincing them to, you know, that you can be their agent. Otherwise, like you ain't going to have a business. You ain't going to have no, you know, no income. So that's where I would look to someone like you that's done it and just be like, all right, give me the like, what should I actually do? You know, not all the like the fluff around it, basically.
Yeah. Cut through all the BS and just go straight to what you actually need to be doing. I think that's so true. And we're seeing, you know, with FollowUpBoss, we're seeing that success, and that method worked, right? Like I always say success leaves clues, and you've dropped so many different clues that like if you just take these little things and you add them to your daily life, whether it's, you know, going direct, like you're saying, right, where we say, okay, let's take actionable things. What is something actionable that I can do on a daily basis that's going to get me to that goal? Like that's where you need to go, right? And so now what? FollowUpBoss has how many employees now?
A bit over 100, so it was 105.
Over 105 employees. You guys are the leading CRM, and just creating that. I talk to so many people all the time, and they're like, "What CRM do you use?" I say, "FollowUpBoss," and they say, "What what about XYZ? What about this CRM?" I'm like, "Look, like again, why are you wasting your time? If you're asking me a question, if you ask me what CRM do I use, and I say this CRM, it's going to be that CRM no matter what." The reason being is because I know I've used every other product, and you guys created a great product. But the best part is you guys continually make it better and continually improve it. And and what's next for FollowUpBoss? Where are you going with Bob? Where can people expect to see? Because I see this product just continually get better. That gap just continually gets bigger between the CRM that you're competing with and or that thinks they're competing with you and where you're at, right? So what's next for FUB?
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying all those nice things. I mean, we're definitely always trying to get better. Again, it's like, I think even a lot of the people at the company, that mindset we mentioned before of just always making progress. I think a lot of people have that same mindset, and like, that's why they work, even though we're 100 people now, right? It's still like a fairly small company. This isn't like going to work at, whatever, some of these big tech giants. And so you are able to have a bit more of that, like, hey, let's just improve things. It's like, so I don't know, like, I would say a lot of like what we're doing is like looking at existing features, how do we make them better? So like some of the features that we've built, because we've been around for 12 years, it's like we might have built like this version of, automations like several years ago, action plans. Like we built the first version of that like 10, 11 years ago. And so like one of the projects right now is like, let's combine those features and just make it like the best automations editor, we can possibly create, right? So instead of just like, doing, looking at sort of like, because when you're first building software, a lot of the time you're like, let's just build a simple version to get it out and like validate that people want to use it and all that kind of stuff. And like, we're sort of like very far past that. So also over time, features just in the software game, like things just become a bit dated. So yeah, a lot of it is trying to improve existing features, improving like the level of like ease of use in the software. Because as you add in more functionality, it does become like a little bit harder to use. And I think that's always something that we've heard from people. They love how easy it is to use and all that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure we don't lose that over time. And then, I'm excited. Like we're not doing a lot of like things with AI right now. We're definitely like very closely watching it. Like, how are we going to be able to use this technology? There's sort of like obvious use cases, like write an email for me or like, book an appointment for me. But yeah, we're really trying to look for like, how can we use that to like, really automate more business processes, or maybe like give you an edge in terms of like knowing what leads to follow up with stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, we're keeping a close eye on that. And then, just, trying to just keep growing the team, trying to like be on the product, like make sure we're building this community. Like, I know you're very aware of all the events and stuff we do, which has been like, a really cool thing to see evolve over the last, the last year. And so, because I think what's also interesting, and sort of like I try and hammer this home with my team a lot, like, we have a good technology, that's cool. But like, I would say most small business owners, they're not screwed because like, and even putting myself back in the day in that camp, not because they don't have the right technology, it's just, they just don't know, again, like how to go more direct. Like maybe they're missing some of those skills, like sales, or maybe they're starting a team, but they don't really know how to recruit, or like they recruited some people, but they're not very, they don't really know how to hold them accountable or like motivate them. And so I guess like that's where I see like community, or just making sure that you're connected to people that are a bit ahead of you and you can learn from them. Like, I guess that's what I'm trying to like always think, like, how do we make our clients more successful? And I think to some extent, like you already have the technology to do it. Like, I mean, when we started our business, it was literally like I had Skype and I'd be like dialing people from overseas. My internet connection was bad. It's like now, like I feel like we almost have like too much technology, you know what I mean? It's sort of like people are just sort of like, paralyzed with what to do. And again, like that's where I think it's like these fundamental skills. Like if you can be a really great marketer, then you're going to be able to leverage FollowUpBoss and your IDX website and like all these tools even better, But if you don't really have that foundation of just like, what do people like? Like, how do I get people's attention? Like, how do I, how do I do a call to action? Like, if you haven't studied any of that, and I think it's a lot harder, right? Because you sort of have all these tools and you're hearing all these like coaches say things, but it's sort of like, you probably need to learn some of that. Or, I mean, you can obviously team up with people or just pay people to do stuff for you. But again, I think to some extent as a business owner, like some of those skills are very hard to skip over. Like if you just know nothing about marketing or nothing about sales, you know what I mean? It's like, especially in like real estate game, like that's going to be very tough, but any business, right? Because, we all need to market ourselves and, sell our products. So.
Yeah, and you need to know enough to be able to direct your vision, right? As a leader, in my opinion, right? Like in my opinion, I don't know everything about let's again say social media marketing and yada yada yada, but I know the best person for that, and I know enough to be dangerous to be able to say, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for, blah blah blah. Now, can you execute on that and figure out the technical aspects to get there, right? And they'll get me there, right? But so 100%, I think that you need enough, and I think that you're doing a really FollowUpBoss is doing a really good job about curating those communities, or that community, right? Of like with the events that you guys are doing with FubCon, which has last year was the first year that you did it. You guys are going to have it again this year. I think that when you guys did it last year, I think there was so much of like within the industry, people like, I don't know, is this going to be a great event? Is it going to be blah, 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 right? And then everybody started saying that was the best real estate event that they've ever been to. That is the best real estate event in the industry, right? So like things like that are they speak to the culture that you're building for your company, and that you've built. And that community is part of that culture, I feel like, because I feel like just even your client success team, your events team, yada, 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 like all of these people care so much about the success of the product, which is very rare in a company. And I think that you've curated and built that. And you've done an amazing job doing it. And it comes from understanding who you are as an individual and how you came to where you're at. It's the same thought process. You've led your teams. I always say great leaders create more leaders, and that's what you've done. And I really applaud that. I think you've absolutely crushed it, and I'm super excited to see where FUB's going.
Awesome. Yeah. I think we have so many, for sure, great people and great leaders in the company, which honestly, like that gets me excited to come to work every day. Like if we had just, I don't know, just like I've worked in other companies again, like if I own that finance company, like again, like I don't know if I couldn't be as excited, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would just be more about like, oh, this can make me the X amount of money. It's like, I think really working with people that are passionate, like Ricardo with FubCon, right? It's like literally like the guy is not sleeping to make sure this is a success. So again, I see a lot of those successful traits, and just again, like passionate people, I think are just, it makes you more excited. It makes you more challenged. I'm like, shit, I better become a better CEO because I'm responsible for all these people now. And the other like thing, which I don't know if this would be useful to anyone, but it's just like when I was younger, like my football coach told me, it's like, hey, like to win this game, all we need is like everyone in every position to be better than their opposite number. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're on the wing, you need to crush that other winger. And, if you're a forward, you just need to do a better job than their forwards. And so I kind of think of that in business terms a lot as well. So it's like, great, be better at the product. Great, be better at customer support. Great, be better at recruiting people, and be better at events, and it's sort of, because then once you sort of apply that, let's try and be great on all these different aspects, then it's very hard. I think it's like, it just makes it a lot harder to compete with you. And I think a lot of companies, like they just drop the ball on things like support and stuff like that. And they just have people maybe in those roles that don't care as much, or they don't even like get the right people for those roles or whatever, so it's, again, not that we're perfect or anything. I'm certainly far from perfect, and there's different flaws in the company that we're always trying to improve, but it's like, yeah, you just having people that care and that are trying to really be the best, instead of just being like, well, support doesn't really matter. It's all about sales and marketing at this company. It's like,
Yeah.
and yeah, we just see that even the ratio of people we hire. Like we've only got like 5 salespeople, we've got 100 people, right? Whereas there's companies that will have like 20 salespeople, in a 100-person company. So yeah, I don't know. It's just placing different values on things. But like I said, if you try and like compete against on every single level, like I don't know how you apply this to the real estate game.
Yeah.
It's like maybe you have a bigger database than everyone else in your market, and like maybe you're able to like recruit better talent than everyone else, and like you're doing more meetings than everyone else or whatever. Like I think you just got to try and like think a little bit competitively in those terms, because if you're always doing like more than everyone else, right? It's like I don't know. I can't see how you lose with that. Like I can't see how like someone's going to just compete on like, oh well, we're really good at recruiting, but you know what I mean? Like we're average at everything else. So
yeah, I think, take an active inventory of where you're at each level of everything, and then say, okay, how can I level up everything so that we're competing in every level? I love that. I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you so much for being on today. Thank you for sharing. If people wanted to reach out to you, if people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to connect?
that's a good question. Probably just Instagram or Facebook. Just look up my name. And I go through phases of trying to like get off social media and so on. You can also just email me, Dan@followupboss.com as well. That's a pretty good way.
I love it, Dan. Thank you. I appreciate you for being on. Again, thank you so much, and talk soon.
Thanks, man.